what it says. Beloved, I urge you as aliens and strangers to abstain from fleshly lusts which wage war against the soul. Now again, in chapter 1, verse 14, we've already talked about the mind, the war on the mind. Verse 13 of chapter 1, therefore, prepare your minds for action. Listen, if you're going to be victorious, you've got to be mentally engaged in the things of God. That means, listen, the stuff that you listen to is important. It feeds your mind. You ever hear a song and it's so ridiculous that you can't get it out of your mind? Back in the day, we had cool songs. House is not a home. Chair is still a chair. Even when there's no one sitting there, but a room is not a house, and a house is not a home. Now we say stuff like, I can't feel my face when I'm with you, but I like it. Donaldson, playing that to me. I can't feel my face when I'm with you, but I like it. Come a long way after that. I kind of lost y'all. Let me get back on track. Prepare your minds for action. Keep sober in spirit. Fix your hope completely on the grace to be brought to you at the revelation of Jesus Christ. As obedient children, do not be conformed to the former, say former, to the former lust where you were in your ignorance, but like the Holy One who has called you, be holy yourselves in all your behavior. It's basically saying the same thing. You've got to acknowledge that we are in a war. Do you understand that? You've got to wage war against your mind and flesh. The enemy is trying to control you by your thoughts. Says abstain from fleshly lust which wage war. To wage war is to contend, fighting like a soldier in a war. Wage war against your soul. That's to breathe or to blow. That the soul is the distinct identity that we all have. You know, when we die, our souls go to be with the Lord. To be absent from the body, the flesh, is to be absent with the Lord. Our souls, that distinct thing that makes us present. What's present? Oh yeah, what did I just say? To be absent from the body is to be what? Present. Well, that's just a joke I was teaching y'all. Amen. That distinct identity. All of us have a soul. That's the word, where we get our word psychology. Suche is the Greek word, and we get the word psychology from it. It's that uniqueness that we all have. There's a war against our souls. The soul is the direct aftermath of God breathing or blowing. It's his gift of life into each person. Jesus talked about this when he spoke to Peter in Luke chapter 22, verse 24 to 34. Remember, Jesus is now headed to the cross. He says to his disciples, I've got to go. And the disciples are now arguing about who's going to be the greatest. Verse 24 says, and there arose a dispute among them as to which one of them was regarded to be the greatest. Verse 25, and he said to them, the kings of the Gentiles them, and those who have authority over them are called benefactors. Verse 26. But it is not this way with you. But the one who is greatest among you must become like the youngest, and the leader like the servant. For who is greater, the one who reclines at the table or the one who serves? It is not the one who reclines at the table, but I am among you as one of those who serve. Since you are those who have stood by me in my trials, and just as my Father has granted me kingdom, I grant you that you might eat and drink at my table in the kingdom, and you will sit on thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Verse 31. Simon, Simon, anytime it's repeated for emphasis. Simon, behold, understand, listen. Satan has demanded permission to sift you as wheat, but I prayed for you. Jesus understood that a war would take place. In the book of Acts, he told them, listen, when I leave, savage wolves are going to come and they're going to scatter the sheep. But I prayed for you that your faith may not fail, and when you have turned again, strengthen your brothers. You've got to acknowledge that we are in a war. My last point, verse 12. It must be, in light of this knowledge of the war that we are in, you must be decisive in your behavior. Verse 12. Says it this way: keep your behavior excellent among the Gentiles, so that in this thing in which they slander you as evildoers, they may be, because of your good deeds, as they observe them, glorify God in the day of visitation. Be decisive in your behavior. In other words, win or influence people by your behavior. Listen, what you do speaks so well. A whole lot of people talking about faith and about Jesus, but their walk undermines what they're talking about. This is what he's saying. Now, again, you need to understand that the context is these believers are scattered and they're being persecuted, and yet God is demanding through Peter that you live in such a way that influences those on the outside. He says, keep your behavior excellent among the Gentiles. God requires the believer to live in excellence. When we sing, we ought to do it in excellence. If we play the bass, if we play the guitar, whatever we do, we ought to do it with excellence. And you're right, Sister Carla, all of us are going to stand before God, and we have to give an account as to our stewardship with the gift that he has given us. Every one of us. We need to do what we do with excellence. Don't come in and give God your second string worship. But start preparing on tomorrow to worship on Sunday. Give him your very best. He deserves your best. So he says, keep your behavior excellent among the Gentiles. Why is that important? Well, because remember, they are aliens. They are not permanent residents there. And Jude talks about us snatching others out of the fire. Listen, the world is perishing, and those who don't know Jesus Christ, they are going to hell. And your behavior, you might be the only Bible that someone ever reads. You think people are not watching you. Be very careful. And that person cuts you off. You better know that there's somebody around you. You see a little fish on the back of their car. You say, man, well, maybe the car is Christian, but guess they something. Callous, to be decisive in your behavior, to embrace what is lovely, what is praiseworthy, keep your behavior excellent among the Gentiles, so that in the thing in which they slander you, let's stop right there for a second. It's assumed that in that particular context, that the Gentiles are going to slander you. Listen, sometimes if you're not feeling any opposition, you might be walking with the enemy. It's important for us to live in such a way that we glorify God, because others are looking at you. A friend of mine, a young man that's David Rivers, plays with Youngstown State University. Keep him in prayer. He's probably going to be drafted, maybe first round. But I stay in touch with him all the time. I guess on his message, when he texts me back, he always says it's all about him. Text him last night. Before he says anything, he says it's all about him. He understands that God has given him a great platform. He gets to play football. He gets to do something that he loves doing. But he understands that God has given him the platform to give God the glory. When you go to work, it should be all about him. The people around you in your cubicle, your office, folk ought to know that there's something different about you. Your behavior should be so excellent that it is winsome. Folk want to know what it is that causes you to live the way you live. Why do you not go off of the deep end when adversity comes? He says, live in excellence so that in the thing in which they slander you as evildoers, they may be because of your good deeds, as they observe them, that is your good deeds, glorify God in the day of salvation. 1 Corinthians chapter 9 again. At the end, Paul gives a defense of his apostleship. I want to read this in closing from the Message Bible. The Message Bible was written by Eugene Peterson. It's a paraphrase. He says this: even though I am free of the demands and expectations of everyone, I have voluntarily become a servant to any and all in order to reach a wide range of people. Religious, non-religious, meticulous, moralist, loose-living, immoralist, the defeated, the demoralized, whoever. I don't take on their way of life. I kept my bearings in Christ, but I entered their world and tried to experience things from their point of view. I've become just about every sort of servant there is in my attempts to lead those I meet into a God-saved life. I did all this because of the message, the gospel. I didn't just want to talk about it. I wanted to be in on it. You know, it's one thing to come here and sing songs of Zion and worship, and we can have a good time and laugh, but the rubber meets the road when we walk out of these doors. What you do speaks oh so well. Somebody said, I can't really understand what you're saying because your walk is walking louder than your talk. You're saying one thing, but you're living totally different. And by the way, those sins that you're dealing with that nobody knows about, You need to understand that God is omniscient. He knows. If God took your phone and exposed what you're looking at on your phone, would He be pleased? Your thought life, what are you focusing on? God expects us to live as aliens and foreigners and strangers, but while we're here on earth, we need to understand that we're representing the kingdom of God. There's some things that we've got to do. We've got to abstain from fleshly lust that war against our soul. We've got to live in excellence so that we might, by any means, as Paul would say, save souls. If people around you that need Jesus, and you might be the only Bible that they ever read, you're being read every day, what is it that they're reading? Father in heaven, we first of all want to ask that you would forgive us. Forgive us for taking residence here on this earth. Lord, you called us out of the world, placed us in the kingdom of your Son.